The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Connect. Nonprofit Connect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cinder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits, so get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Adrian Spence, and Adrian is the founder and artistic director of Camerata Pacifica. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Oh gosh, I know you have quite a story to tell, and I can hardly wait.
I'm an Irish guy. I'm full of full of stories.
So tell us about Camerata Pacifica, what you're up to these days. We'd love to hear it.
Well, we're emerging from a shutdown. So we did our first set of concerts about 3 weeks ago, and yeah, we're back on the concert stage again. It's back to live music, and oh my goodness, it feels so good.
Oh gosh.
We hear the same stories again and again from audience members or other musicians that I think for many aspects of our lives we took a lot of it for granted. We took a lot of the treasures that we enjoy we took for granted, and so now to have this music again and to have this community gather around it, the intensity and the power is so much more evident, and there were lots of tears.
Oh,
in the first, just for musicians and audience members alike, just the relief of engagement once again.
Oh gosh. So I was reading on your website that Camerata Pacifica specializes in chamber music in intimate settings.
That's key. That's key.
Tell us about that.
That's a signature of what we do. So chamber music, you know, it's like, so a symphony is like an American football team. You know, there were like 100 players on an American football team, where all these people are on the field. Chamber music's more like doubles tennis, and so it's usually a composer's most personal expression. And chamber, it's written, the chamber is a room. So, a room as opposed to a concert hall.
Okay.
So frequently you'll find chamber music played in large theaters, which is just wrong. It's not written for that. And so what we've done at the Camerata, we've very intentionally kept the music in small halls. So we play in halls that are around 300 people. Han Hall at the Music Academy of the West and it's actually acoustic. It's one of the finest halls I know anywhere. And you get you end up getting a contact with the music. It's a much more visceral experience, and a much more intense experience, because you're there and you can hear the breath. You can hear the breath of the violin player, of the cello player, which normally you don't. The wind players, or flute players or clarinet players, you expect to hear breathing, but you'll hear string players take breath. You'll hear the grit of the bow on the string as opposed to just the music, and it's a much more intense experience.
So you're the founder.
I am.
Tell us, what your original intention was. What went through your mind? What was the impetus for founding this?
Very little goes through this mind.
I doubt that.
Or it's in one ear and out the other, my mother would say. I was 25 at the time, and I'm a flute player by training. And I was starting to freelance down in LA. And I just, I arrived to America and totally bought into the idea of the American dream, that if you work hard enough and you're dedicated and I saw the streets paved with gold and just and it I've lived it, and at that time I was full of the ideals of a 25-year-old musician, and just was dedicated to bringing this music at the highest possible level to the greatest number of people. And so nothing really went through my mind other than play the music and play the music for people. Mm-hmm. And it started, and the first performance was December 3rd, 1990 in the Lobero Theatre.
Oh my gosh.
There are people coming to our concerts today that were there, that have been there for 32 seasons.
1990.
And it took off. And yeah, it's gone through a number of iterations. So originally I used musicians based in Southern California, mm-hmm. but then we wanted to significantly increase the rehearsal schedule, and not all those musicians were available to me, because many of them worked in the studios. Mm-hmm. So my line was, I didn't just have to compete with the LA Opera, but I was competing with Bugs Bunny. And, so around 2000, our piano player, a lady called Joanne Pierce Martin, became the keyboardist for the LA Philharmonic. So we used that as a trigger for change, and it became, at that point, it became an international ensemble. So now what we do is we bring musicians from all around the world. On my core roster, my clarinet player is Spanish, my oboe player is English, I've got a Korean violinist, I've got a Taiwanese violinist, and we're bringing guests in from Holland and St. Petersburg this season.
Gosh.
And so we bring them into Santa Barbara and go through another signature of Camerata Pacifica is a very intense rehearsal period where we'll rehearse maybe 40 or 50 hours on a program, which is a huge amount of rehearsal time. Before we take it to them, we have 4 venues. We have subscription series in Santa Barbara, Ventura, at the Huntington Library in San Marino, and downtown LA. And so when we get these quite literally world-class players and give them an abundance of rehearsal time, magic is the result. It truly is magic.
And so these musicians come from all over the world. Mm-hmm. And what, do they stay in town for a season, or what?
No, these musicians are, once again, they are truly world class, and they have busy schedules, and so they come in. They'll be here they usually come in for about a 2-week period.
Okay.
Sometimes some of the musicians will appear with us 4 or 5 times in a season. Some of them just 2 or 3, depending on what the music is. So it's like doubles tennis, but I'm constantly swapping the players out.
Okay.
So it may be, so the concert we've got the next concert we've got coming up, we're doing some Baroque music, Italian and French Baroque, with flute, bassoon, and harpsichord and piano. But then a couple of concerts in the future, we've got marimba and percussion and a whole bunch of wind players.
Wow.
So it constantly mixes up. So you come to one concert, you're not going to be able to predict what the next concert is going to be like.
So a person ought to come to all.
It's just, let's just cut to the chase right away.
Yeah. So your flute player, for example, is not always the same flute player. You could switch them out.
I have an ensemble, so I have an ensemble of principal players. The flute player for Camerata Pacifica was yours truly until 3 years ago. So now we're actually looking for a flute player, a bassoon player, and a viola player. Our viola player, a chap called Richard O'Neill, just was appointed to be the violist for the Takash String Quartet, which is one of the great quartets in the world.
Wow.
So, it's like, I'm just saying. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to drop names, but I'm quite happy to do so.
Good. So now tell us a little bit about how COVID has impacted Camerata.
Well, wasn't that a shock?
Yeah.
So February 2020 was our last performances, and then they closed all the concert halls. We were fortunate right off the bat because in 2009 I started videotaping concerts. So we've got quite an archive, a video archive. In fact, we've got a YouTube channel that has about 6,000 subscribers all around the world and over 2 million views.
Wow.
Which for a little chamber music group is huge.
Yeah.
So when the shutdown occurred, the lockdown occurred, everybody was scrambling to create online content, and we had this huge resource, so we just hit play. And it's been a tragic time. I mean, we can't ignore the loss of life across the world. We can't ignore the loss of life in this country and the impact upon those who are left and the economic impact. It's been a dreadful, dreadful time. But some silver linings have come out of this. And we ended up in a collaboration with UCLA Health, who spotted our online streams, our online broadcasts. And every patient bed at UCLA has its own iPad. And so now on each of those iPads, there's a dedicated Camerata Pacifica channel. It's called the Nightingale channel.
Wow.
And it's being picked up by hospitals across the country. It's being picked up by USC, the Keck School of Medicine, UC Davis, Loma Linda. We're talking with Cottage Hospital. We're talking with the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And it's just a really heart-warming program. It's like a Netflix channel for classical music. And as we were putting it together and I was making the programs, I found it really difficult because most of the people who go into hospital, you're in for a short time and then you're out with successful outcomes. There are other people going to be in there for extended stays and with a grave future. And we wanted to provide programming that would touch every person, no matter what challenge they were facing in hospital at that time. And whether or not you're an aficionado of classical music, when you encounter this, you realize that you're in touch with something that's much greater than the individual, that you're connected with something that's timeless and it's extended centuries back and will extend for centuries ahead of time. And while we hope, while we share this with our live audience, I've also been conscious with this Nightingale channel of those people at their lowest ebb, facing their most challenging time in the middle of the night when they're alone.
Yeah.
And the channel affords anybody who wants to listen to it in hospital at any time of the night. It's available. And it's one of the more touching results that have come out of COVID, and one of the more touching projects for Camerata Pacifica.
Gosh, and what a gift you have given to the world through that.
I think music is, I think music is a gift we're all given. I talk about it, the privilege it is to be a musician or to be the artistic director of Camerata Pacifica, because I feel very strongly that that we have a responsibility to this art form that the American composer Aaron Copland described as one of the glories of mankind. And we're stewards of that art form. And the time that we're privileged to have with it, I think it's our responsibility to hand it to the next generation in a better condition than it was handed to us, and just to keep moving the thing forward.
That is so beautiful.
So,
You know, I'll bet there's probably some research about how the music could actually enable healing, or
this coincides with just an explosion of research for exactly these purposes, and Nightingale Channel is developing an advisory panel of doctors and researchers who are sharing this scholarship with us, because now the research is ongoing, and it's becoming increasingly clear that it helps PTSD, post-surgery, post-operation.
Yeah.
It helps the recovery, mental health, and just
Wow.
emotional healing. So, you know, I think we can get a little carried away as music, and we say, you know, music heals us.
Sure.
No, it doesn't. Neosporin heals us, or
Yeah.
antibiotics, you know, your vaccination. But I think this encounter in music can support the natural healing processes, or the medical healing processes in the body, and certainly emotionally. It's going to provide a connection and a reward and a solace and a comfort.
That is just... Now, Camerata Pacifica is a 501c3 nonprofit.
We are indeed.
And I'll bet on your website,
Yeah.
there's a
I know
little
where you're
donate
going.
now
Yes.
button.
Yep.
People, and you would gladly accept financial donations.
I've never been known to turn one away.
Well, that's good, because my guess is there are a lot of people watching this who will say, oh, I want to contribute to that.
Yeah, well, please do. So not only, you know, the best way you can contribute is come to a concert.
Yeah,
and
right.
so let's make it transactional. You show up, give us some money, and we'll give you a ticket.
There you go.
But, you know, also, if you now, what we're increasingly finding interesting is our work in the field of wellness.
Oh.
So, the Nightingale Channel. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Now, do you think that some of the patients that have benefited from your music when they were in hospital maybe go back and tune in to you in some way that they would not otherwise have?
Yeah, undoubtedly. You know, we have the Nightingale Channel, which is specific to hospitals, but then we have our YouTube channel. So if you Google Camerata Pacifica, then boom, there's a ton of video out there. Yeah. So for the viewers, you know, it's like, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. There's a fair bit of research you can conduct yourself, and then realize just how much better it sounds in person.
Yeah, oh, right. And so, speaking of the website, a person can go on the website and see your schedule, where you're going to play, all that.
Mm-hmm. Basically, so we've got a somewhat reduced season in this first post-COVID season, because everybody's hedging, because we don't know, we don't want to face cancellations again. But generally, Camerata Pacifica performs once a month.
Oh.
In the season between September and May, we perform once a month each. Each performance in all of the subscription venues.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good to know. Well, I'm going to tune into your website.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Show up at your concerts. I can hardly wait.
On your bicycle?
I probably won't be riding my bike this time. So Adrian, we have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like the audience to know about Camerata Pacifica?
You know, we're in this post-COVID time, and Camerata. So I was saying to you a little earlier before we started, it seems to have been divided into people who can't wait to get back to normal. Good luck to those folks.
Yeah.
And then the group of which Camerata Pacifica is a member, we just cannot wait for the future. The future is so bright. This is the golden age for classical music. This is the best time. There's more music out there, excellently performed. It just, the widest range of music you can listen. There's more music than you can imagine.
Wow.
And the future is bright, and Camerata Pacifica is happy to be part of it, and we will welcome anybody who wants to come to our concerts.
Oh my gosh. And the irony is that a lot of that possibility has been revealed through a pretty big challenge.
Yep.
Which says a lot about you and your group and your folks
Well, thank you.
Gosh. Well, thank you for blessing our lives in such a beautiful way.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for being on our show today.
Well, what a pleasure. And what a pleasure to meet you.
And to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.